Humanity has long attempted to understand the natural world and its place within it through storytelling. Stories about wise owls, loyal dogs, and courageous lions have shaped the way we view the world throughout history. They stay with us and help us navigate the mysterious natural world. Without this insatiable curiosity to understand nature, childhood keystones such as the scary boogeyman or the simple and kind Winnie the Pooh would not exist. But for some, stories are just not enough. Despite the important lessons that we learn from childhood stories about how nature can be both cruel and kind, the boogeyman, Pooh, and other characters like them are not real. Science is a story that people can put their faith in. It teaches us the realities of nature through empirical studies. The practice of science is meticulously performed and aggressively regulated. People trust in science to solve problems such as disease or environmental degradation due to climate change. Al Gore's An Inconvenient Truth and BBC's Planet Earth created an accessible medium through which people could trust the science performed by renowned and liked experts. Because these mediums are presented by charismatic experts, we cannot be certain that people trust science because it is good science or because of the popularity of the presenter. Science illiteracy is a worldwide phenomenon in which people are unaware of the complexities of scientific practices and therefore cannot grasp what quality science truly is. David Duncan from the MIT Technology Review sarcastically stated, "The good news, America's science literacy rate is up from a pathetic 10% in 1988. The bad news, it's still only 28%. A study from the National Science Foundation shows disturbing statistics as well. As of 2010, only 84% of Americans believed the center of the Earth to be very hot. 73% knew that the Earth went around the Sun, and a startling 52% recognized that it took the Earth 1 year to travel around the Sun. Unfortunately, we cannot argue that people are still in the process of learning these facts, because the numbers in response to these questions have remained relatively constant since the 1980s. However, all is not lost because what people do understand are stories. In 1954, a new age began, the age of Godzilla.
This is Tokyo, once a city of 6 million people. What has happened here was caused by a force which, up until a few days ago, was entirely beyond the scope of man's imagination. Tokyo, a smoldering memorial to the unknown, an unknown which at this very moment still prevails and could at any time lash out with its terrible destruction anywhere else in the world.
But this was not just a story about a radioactive monster. For Japan, the story of Godzilla was rooted in reality. In the year that Godzilla was produced, a fishing boat known as the Lucky Dragon was accidentally destroyed because it was traveling in the vicinity of an American nuclear testing site. It is no surprise that the opening scenes of Godzilla are on a ship where an explosion has just occurred.
Godzilla is very clearly referencing the Lucky Dragon incident. It's also, I think, referencing Hiroshima, but also just general wartime experience. I mean, Tokyo was devastated not by the atomic bomb, but by fire bombings, from Allied fire bombings during the war. So this image of Tokyo destroyed, I think, is something that was very fresh in people's minds. You know, it was just 10 years before the release of Godzilla, so it's still very fresh, and I think that image of destruction is also very clearly referencing the war.
Godzilla was the manifestation of the horrors that Japan had witnessed over the years, and the fears that still remained.
A prehistoric monster the Japanese call Godzilla has just walked out of Tokyo Bay. He's as tall as a 30-story building.
We're taking something invisible like radiation that's in the environment that's harmful to people and bringing it out in the form of this giant lizard.
Mr. Ojihara. These are footsteps of a living creature. They're also radioactive.
Despite the horrors that Japan was facing in both the real world and the fictional world of Godzilla, there was still hope. Hope in science. The film not only places a heavy emphasis on the powers of scientists as people who interact with everyday victims, but as those who provide guidance to prestigious officials and policymakers as well.
Godzilla was resurrected due to the repeated experiments of H-bombs.
Who ends up saving the world? Well, it's the scientists. It's more those regular people.
With great power comes great responsibility. Caught at a crossroads between studying this phenomenon of nature and the safety of humanity, politics drove science to destroy Godzilla.
Godzilla's destroyed, the sort of oxygen-destroying bomb. I think that is messing with nature in a way that wasn't supposed to happen. And so Dr. Serizawa's sacrifice at the end of the movie is really, I think, about, okay, we can't keep messing with nature in these ways. There's often this battle between study the creatures or destroy them, between military and science in a lot of these kind of films. But I think the death of Godzilla means in the original film that the threat is over, but it's still, for now, it's over for now. And we still need to be careful if we don't want it to happen again. But I think there might also be this sense of loss as well, that this magnificent creature has died as well.
While the death of Godzilla was symbolic of the end of the war, threats of radiation still lingered. Faced with the aftermath of the atomic bombing, Japan found itself in a new environment. Much like Godzilla, what happened was the result of both a force of nature and an unnatural product of humankind contorting nature. Countless of other films such as Jurassic Park, Spider-Man, and the Hulk follow this theme. Mankind is constantly grappling with the responsibilities that come with power over nature, or what might result from bending nature to one's will with science. These fears often find themselves in stories with monster narratives.
It's a radioactive spider that gives Spider-Man his powers, but in some of the recent movies it's genetic engineering. So these genetically modified spiders. So they often sort of show us what the fear is in the culture without really kind of making it that scary, because it gives Spider-Man these cool powers, or makes the Hulk super powerful in other ways.
What these stories provide us with is a way to understand what has already happened, or what unforeseen things may be to come. Each of these monsters have come into being through some sort of human cause. They are unnatural creations imbued with life, the most natural thing we know. We create them through our ambitions for progress, and destroy them out of fear. We comfort ourselves knowing that these monsters are not real. Godzilla will not rise out of the ocean, and Spider-Man will not be swinging from the tops of skyscrapers. But remember Frankenstein? Despite popular belief, that is not the name of the monster created in Mary Shelley's story. It's the name of the doctor who created him. And who's to say that he isn't real?